Hello everyone, and welcome to the Beast fanfic. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Goku was resurrected by the Asgardian goddess of death, Hela. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. Death's Champion. The universe itself seemed to scream as Goku's body plummeted through layers of reality, trailing golden light that flickered and faded with each passing second. Blood mixed with sweat, plastering his torn GI to his battered form. His normally vibrant eyes had dulled, the spark of life diminishing even as he struggled to maintain consciousness. "I can't," he gasped, his voice barely audible over the howling dimensional winds. Above him, a massive tear in space-time pulsated with malevolent energy. The entity, if it could even be called that, was more like a living black hole, consuming stars and planets with equal indifference. Goku had given everything: Super Saiyan God, even Ultra Instinct. Nothing had been enough against this cosmic abomination that existed beyond mortal comprehension. He'd managed to push it back, to delay its consumption of Earth and his universe, but the cost had been too high. His friends' voices echoed distantly in his mind. Vegeta shouting strategies, Gohan's desperate cry, Piccolo's stoic warning, Bulma's frantic calculations over the communicator. But they were fading now, becoming ghosts of memory as his life force ebbed. The dimensional rift spat him out somewhere unknown, a place between places. As his consciousness slipped away, Goku felt an unfamiliar sensation. Not the pull of other world that he'd experienced in previous deaths. This was different, colder, more purposeful. A hand, pale as moonlight and strong as steel, reached through the darkness. Long fingers wrapped around what remained of his essence. Not his physical form, but something deeper. His soul. Interesting, a woman's voice echoed through the void. "You don't belong to any realm I oversee, yet death has delivered you to me." How fortuitous. Goku tried to speak, to ask who she was. But no words formed. His consciousness flickered like a candle in the wind. "Not yet, warrior," the voice commanded. "Your end will not come today. I have other plans for you." The last thing Goku perceived before total darkness claimed him was a pair of eyes, ancient, predatory, and glimmering with emerald fire. Hela, goddess of death and rightful heir to Asgard, circled the altar where the strange warrior lay motionless. Her sanctum deep within Helheim pulsed with eldritch energies as black flames cast shifting shadows across stone walls adorned with the weapons of 1,000 conquered worlds. "What manner of being are you?" she murmured, observing the man's unusual physique. Even in death, his muscles retained definition that spoke of power beyond ordinary mortals. His hair, black as night, contrasted with the pale death pallor that had overtaken his skin. She placed a hand on his chest, sensing the remnants of extraordinary energy unlike anything in the 9 realms. Not Asgardian strength, nor dark elf sorcery, nor even the power cosmic that flowed through certain entities she'd encountered. This was something else entirely, raw, primal, yet refined through discipline and combat. "Scourge," she called without turning. Her executioner emerged from the shadows, massive axe resting casually against his shoulder. "My queen, prepare the ritual of necromantic binding. The ancient version, not the simplified practice we use for foot soldiers." Her lips curved into a smile that never reached her eyes. "I believe I've found my champion." Scourge hesitated, his scarred face betraying uncertainty. "The ancient ritual requires sacrifices. Powerful ones. Do you question me?" Hela's voice remained soft, yet the temperature in the chamber dropped perceptibly. "No, my queen." Scourge bowed and retreated, the heavy tread of his boots echoing through the cavernous space. Alone again with the corpse, Hela traced a finger along the strange orange GI the warrior wore. The fabric, though torn and bloodied, bore an unfamiliar symbol. She tore away a scrap, crushing it between her fingers as she extended her supernatural senses into its very essence. "Not of Midgard," she concluded. "Not of any realm I know." Her eyes narrowed. "What were you fighting, I wonder? What could destroy something with power like yours?" She closed her eyes, replaying the moment her awareness had detected his death. The cosmic disturbance had been impossible to ignore, like a scream across realities. Something catastrophic had occurred, something that threatened more than just the 9 realms. Perfect timing, Hela whispered. The convergence approaches, the barriers between worlds thin, and a warrior of unimaginable power falls into my lap. She placed both hands on the altar, leaning close to the dead man's face. You will serve me well, stranger. Death has claimed you, and I am death. The ritual chamber lay deeper still within Hela's domain, where even the most privileged of her undead servants rarely ventured. Ancient runes covered the floor in concentric circles, pulsing with sickly green light that reflected off obsidian walls. 4 captives, a light elf, a dwarf, a veneer mystic, and a mortal sorcerer, struggled against their bonds at equidistant points around the outer circle. In the center lay Goku's body, now washed and Dr.'s in black armor styled after Hela's own. The chest plate remained open, exposing his torso where Hela had painted sigils in a mixture of her own blood and crushed Nornstone. Begin, she commanded. Scourge and 8 elite Draugr warriors began a low, rhythmic chant. The air thickened as death magic accumulated, drawn by Hela's will in the ancient words. The captives' struggles intensified as they felt their life force being pulled from their bodies. Hela moved with ceremonial precision, her every gesture part of the complex ritual. With each step, her armor shifted, growing more elaborate, the antlers of her headdress extending until they resembled a crown of thorns reaching toward the unseen stars. Death is not the end, she intoned, her voice resonating with otherworldly power. Death is transformation. Death is power. Death is mine to command. She withdrew a dagger of midnight black metal, its edge impossibly thin. Without hesitation, she drove it into her own palm, aloe. Wing her immortal blood, glittering with the same emerald fire as her eyes, to flow freely over Goku's body. Through my blood, you are bound to me. Through death, you are reborn as my will made manifest. She leaned down, her lips nearly touching his ear as she whispered, Rise, warrior. Rise and serve your queen. The captives screamed as their life force was violently extracted, flowing like luminous mist toward Goku's body. The chamber trembled, dust and small stones raining from the ceiling as power built to nearly uncontainable levels. Hela maintained perfect control, channeling the energies, weaving them with her necromancy into something new. Not a mindless Draugr, not a ghost, something more, a perfect fusion of death and life. Rise, she commanded again, pressing both bloodied hands against his chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, Goku's body arched violently, his mouth opening in a silent scream as his eyes flew open. Those eyes, once dark like polished onyx, now blazed with the same emerald fire as Hela's own. The ritual reached its crescendo. The sacrifices collapsed, empty husks. The Draugr warriors disintegrated, their undead essence consumed by the ritual's hunger. Even Scourge was driven to his knees, blood trickling from his eyes and ears. And through it all, Hela stood unmoving, her will unbending as she poured death magic into the warrior's reanimating form. Goku gasped, drawing his first breath in this second life. His chest heaved as awareness returned, confused, fragmented, but undeniably present. Power coursed throated. His ki, once pure and vibrant, now carried an undertone of something else. Something ancient and cold. His eyes focused on the woman standing over him, her pale face framed by the enormous antlered headdress, her expression a mixture of triumph and curiosity. Welcome back to existence, Hela said, satisfaction evident in her voice. How does it feel to be reborn, champion? Goku's brow furrowed as he struggled to make sense of his situation. Memories flooded back. The battle, his death, the strange pulling sensation. He tried to sit up, only to discover bands of magical energy holding him in place. Who? His voice came out rough, unused. He cleared his throat and tried again. Who are you? Where am I? Hela smiled, a predator's expression. I am Hela, goddess of death, rightful ruler of Asgard and all 9 realms. You are in Helheim, my domain. She waved a hand, dissolving the magical restraints. And you, warrior, have been given a rare gift, return from true death. Goku slowly sat up, looking down at the unfamiliar armor covering his body and the strange markings on his skin. He could feel his power, his ki, but it seemed different. Intermingled with something cold and ancient that resonated with the woman before him. I died, he stated simply, meeting her gaze without fear. fighting something that was consuming my universe. Yes, Hela confirmed, circling the altar. A death worthy of legend. I sensed the disturbance across realities. Few beings die with such cosmic significance. She gestured toward him. What do they call you? Warrior who fights universe devours. I'm Goku, he replied, swinging his legs over the side of the altar. As his feet touched the ground, he noticed the 4 withered bodies at the circle's edge. His expression hardened. Those people, you killed them. A necessary sacrifice, Hela dismissed with a wave. Death is my domain, my power. Nothing comes back without payment. Goku's hands clenched into fists. You had no right. I had every right. Hela cut him off. Her voice sharp as a blade. I am death. And now, you are mine. Something flared inside Goku, a mixture of his natural defiance and the new energy flowing through him. The ground beneath his feet cracked as power surged, his hair rising slightly as if caught in an unseen wind. I'm nobody's property, he stated quietly, but with absolute conviction. Hela's smile widened, revealing teeth too sharp to be entirely human. Magnificent, she whispered. Rather than appearing concerned by his defiance, she seemed delighted. Such power, even now. The ritual exceeded all expectations. Scourge finally managed to stand, retrieving his axe with shaking hands. My queen, shall I restrain him? Hela laughed, the sound echoing throughout the chamber. You couldn't if you tried, Scourge. She turned back to Goku. But neither can he escape me. The binding is complete. We are connected now, warrior. My blood flows through your veins. My magic animates your flesh. Defy me if you wish, it changes nothing. Goku stared at his hands, sensing the foreign energy intertwined with his life force. He closed his eyes, reaching for the familiar warmth of his ki. It responded, but sluggishly, as if filtering through something else first. What did you do to me? He asked, eyes snapping open again. I saved you, Hela replied simply. And in return, you will serve as my champion in the coming war. War? What war? Hela gestured, and the chamber around them dissolved, replaced by a vast cosmic vista. Stars and galaxies swirled around them, beautiful but clearly illusory. The entity you fought, the one that killed you, is merely an advanced scout. Hela waved her hand, and the illusion shifted to show the familiar tear in reality Goku had died fighting. It exists between universes, feeding on collapsed realities, and now it has found a way into the space between your universe and mine. The vision expanded, showing 9 massive celestial bodies connected by a cosmic tree. The 9 realms of my cosmos, Hela explained. Connected by Yggdrasil, the world tree. And here, another region of stars appeared, containing familiar planets from Goku's universe, your reality. Normally separate, but now, the 2 cosmic regions began moving toward each other, and in the space between them, darkness gathered, a writhing mass of nothingness that consumed everything it touched. The Void Collective, Hela named it. Ancient beings that feed on universal energies. They're creating a collision between our realities, weakening the barriers to feed on the catastrophic release of energy. Goku watched intently, his warrior's mind already analyzing the threat. If that happens, both our universes die, Hela confirmed grimly. Even I cannot rule over non-existence. The illusion faded, returning them to the ritual chamber. Hela stepped closer to Goku, her expression serious. I need a champion with the power to face cosmic threats. You nay. A second chance at life to protect your universe. Her eyes narrowed. Convenient, wouldn't you say? Goku processed this information with more thoughtfulness than many might have expected from him. While combat and training had always been his focus, threats to existence itself were something he'd faced before. If what you're saying is true, he said finally, then I'll help. Not as your Esser, Vant or champion or whatever you want to call it, but because protecting my universe, protecting all life, is what I do. Hela's smile returned, calculating but genuine. Such nobility, how refreshing. She extended her hand. Do we have an agreement then? Your service in exchange for your resurrection. Goku looked at her hand but didn't take it. I need to know more. About this threat. About what you did to me. About this place. He met her gaze steadily. And I need to know I can trust you. A laugh burst from Hela's throat. Trust. From the goddess of death. She shook her head, seeming genuinely amused. You are unlike any being I've encountered in millennia, Goku. Is that a yes or a no? He pressed. Hela considered him for a long moment. Very well. Questions and answers. Follow me. She turned and strode toward an archway that appeared in the chamber wall. Scourge, prepare the troops for inspection. I want our champion to see the armies at his disposal. Yes, my queen, Scourge replied, bowing deeply. As Goku followed Hela through the archway, he noticed Scourge's wary glance. The executioner clearly didn't trust him, smart man. The passageway opened onto a balcony, overlooking a vast plain shrouded in green mist. As Goku's eyes adjusted, he realized what he was seeing, an army stretching to the horizon. Thousands upon thousands of warriors stood in perfect formation, unnaturally still. The armies of Helheim, Hela announced with pride. Every great warrior who died in battle across the 9 realms over thousands of years. Reanimated and bound to my will. Goku frowned. They're not alive. No, Hela agreed. They are something better. Undying. Tireless. Fearless. Slaves. Goku said flatly. Hela turned to him, one eyebrow raised. You disapprove. How quaint. She leaned against the balcony's railing. Death comes for all eventually, Goku. I simply give it purpose. Where I come from, we respect the dead. They pass on to other world, keep their minds, their free will. Other world. Hela looked genuinely interested now. Your universe has its own death realms. Fascinating. She studied him with new intensity. Tell me about this place. Goku described the afterlife as he knew it. King Yema's judgment, heaven, HFIL, the Grand Kai's planet where warriors trained. As he spoke, he realized how different Hela's domain was, a place of servitude rather than rest or continued growth. Your afterlife sounds chaotic and inefficient, Hela concluded when he finished. All that power and potential squandered on individual pursuits rather than unified purpose. It's about freedom, Goku countered. Everyone makes their own choices, even after the illusion, champion. Power is the only reality. Hela waved a hand toward her armies. I have power enough to save both our universes, with your help. She turned away from the balcony, leading him through another doorway into what appeared to be a war room. A massive table dominated the center, covered with a 3-dimensional map that shifted and changed, showing different realms and dimensions. Now, she said, your questions. Ask, and I shall answer, within reason. Goku approached the table, studying the map with interest. What exactly did you do to bring me back? I can feel something different inside me. Hela smiled, pleased by the directness of his question. The ritual of necromantic binding. Ancient magic, rarely used due to its cost. She circled the table, trailing her fingers across the map's surface. Your body was restored using the life force of 4 beings from different realms. Your soul was bound to your body using my own blood and power. She stopped directly across from him. The difference you feel is our connection. My death essence now flows through you, alongside your own natural energy, your ki, as you call it. Can you control me through this connection? Goku asked bluntly. Hela's smile widened. Not your mind, if that's what concerns you. Your thoughts remain your own. But your life force. She held up her hand, clenching it slowly into a fist. Goku felt an immediate constriction around his heart, a cold pressure that made breathing difficult. It wasn't painful, exactly, but the message was clear. I hold your second life in my hand, Hela continued, relaxing her fingers. The pressure vanished instantly. Kill me, and you return to death, this time beyond even my reach. Stray too far from my influence for too long, and the same fate awaits you. The binding requires proximity to maintain itself. Goku rubbed his chest, processing this information. So I'm on a leash. A crude but accurate metaphor, Hela acknowledged. Though the leash is quite long, you'll have considerable freedom to act as my champion. And what exactly does being your champion involve? Hela gestured to the map, which shifted to show a tear in reality similar to what Goku had fought before. First, understanding our enemy. The Void Collective exists between universes, feeding on collapsed realities. Normally, universal barriers prevent them from accessing stable dimensions. The map showed dark tendrils extending from the tier. But they've found a way to weaken those barriers, specifically between your universe and mine. I believe they're exploiting a unique resonance between our dimensions, some fundamental similarity that makes the barrier thinner. Why would they do that? If both universes collapse, what do they gain? Sustenance, Hela said grimly. They feed on the massive energy release of collapsing dimensions. Two universes colliding would provide them with enough power to expand their territory exponentially. Goku studied the map intently. So we need to find a way to strengthen the barrier between universes and push these void things back where they came from. Precisely. Hela seemed pleased by his quick understanding. But the barriers are weakening rapidly. We must act soon. How soon? The convergence of the 9 realms begins in 1 month, Hela explained. A cosmic alignment that happens once every 5,000 years. During this time, the barriers between all realms thin naturally. If the Void Collective exploits this phenomenon, game over. Goku finished. He straightened, determination evident in his posture. All right, what's our first move? Hela's eyes gleamed with approval. You adapt quickly, champion. Good. She waved her hand over the map, which shifted to show a fortress perched on a mountain peak. First, we travel to Asgard. There is knowledge in Odin's vault that may help us understand how to seal the breaches. Odin? Goku asked. My father, Hela replied, her voice suddenly cold. The All-Father who rules Asgard. We have a complicated relationship. Goku caught the understated hostility. He doesn't know you're planning to visit. Hela's laugh held no humor. He believes me safely imprisoned in Helheim, unable to influence the wider realms. A convenient fiction he maintains to sleep better at night. So we're breaking in, Goku summarized. We're claiming what is rightfully mine, Hela corrected. But yes, stealth may be required. She studied him appraising Ly. Can you suppress that remarkable power of yours when necessary? Goku nodded. I can control my ki, keep it hidden. But what about your connection to me? Won't Odin sense that? Clever question, Hela acknowledged. The binding's energy signature can be masked temporarily. She approached him, placing her palm against his chest plate. But it requires direct contact to establish the shroud. Quote, green energy flowed from her hand, seeping through the armor into Goku's skin. The sensation was strange, cold yet not unpleasant, like plunging into cool water on a hot day. There, she said, withdrawing her hand. This will conceal our connection for approximately 12 hours. Sufficient time for our purposes. Goku noticed she'd stood closer than necessary. Maintained contact longer than required. The realization that she might be testing boundaries made him step back casually. When do we leave? He asked. Dawn, Hela replied. But first, you should test your new powers. I need to know exactly what my champion is capable of in his current state. She moved toward another doorway. Come, I've prepared a suitable challenge. The training arena was vast. A circular pit surrounded by tiered seating. The floor was black stone, polished to a mirror shine and etched with the same runes Goku had seen in the ritual chamber. Weapons of every description lined the walls, swords, axes, spears, and others he couldn't even name. Hela stood at the center, her battle armor materializing around her body in a wave of green energy. The elaborate headdress was gone, replaced by a more practical helmet with swept-back horns. Since you seem to have moral objections to my Draugr warriors, she said, I thought perhaps you'd prefer to spar with me directly. Goku's eyes widened slightly, then a smile spread across his face, the first genuine expression he'd shown since his resurrection. Now you're talking. He rolled his shoulders, settling into the unfamiliar Asgardian armor. What are the rules? Rules. Hela laughed, conjuring a black blade in each hand. There are no rules in real combat, champion. But for this exercise, let's say first blood or surrender. Goku nodded, dropping into his fighting stance, legs spread, center of gravity low, hands raised defensively. He reached for his ki, feeling it respond more readily now. Though still tinged with Hela's death energy. Ready when you are, he said. Hela didn't waste time with further words. She attacked with blinding speed, covering the distance between them in an eye blink. Blades slashing in a deadly pattern. Goku dodged by millimeters, immediately recognizing that she wasn't holding back. Good. He spun away from a thrust that would have pierced his throat. Countering with a sweep kick that Hela leapt over effortlessly. She landed behind him, blades transforming into a massive executioner's axe that she swung in a horizontal arc. Goku dropped to the floor, feeling the weapon pass through the space where his waist had been. He rolled and sprang up, launching a combination of punches that forced Hela to shift to defense. Her blades reformed, parrying his strikes with precision. "Impressive speed," she noted, sounding genuinely pleased. "But you're still adjusting to your new form. Your movements lack your full potential." "I'm just warming up," Goku replied with a grin. He jumped back, putting distance between them, then focused inward. The familiar surge of ki built within him, but as it rose, he felt resistance, as if his energy was fighting against the death essence Hela had infused him with. Hela Wachoku's form flickered with golden light, his hair rising slightly before settling back down. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Your power struggles against the binding." Goku frowned in concentration. Instead of fighting the death energy, he tried something different, accepting it, incorporating it into his ki rather than opposing it. The result was immediate and dramatic. A swirling aura erupted around him, gold intertwined with emerald green. His hair remained black but gained an iridescent quality, shimmering with traces of green when he moved. The ground beneath his feet cracked as his power level soared. "That's more like it," he said, his voice slightly deeper, resonating with dual energies. Hela's eyes widened, genuine surprise crossing her features before being replaced by delight. "Extraordinary. You've managed to synchronize our energies in mere minutes. Most beings would require years of training to achieve such harmony." Without warning, she launched a barrage of conjured blades, dozens of them flying toward Goku from all directions. He reacted instinctively, moving with enhanced speed to dodge or deflect each projectile. As the last blade clattered to the floor, Goku vanished from view, reappearing directly behind Hela with 2 fingers pressed to her neck. "First blood?" he asked quietly. Hela didn't move, but her smile was audible in her voice. "You could have struck, yet you hesitate." "Why? Killing isn't my first choice," Goku replied simply. "Never has been, even knowing what I am. What I've done, especially knowing that." He lowered his hand and stepped back. "We all deserve a chance to choose a better path." Hela turned slowly to face him, her expression unreadable. "Mercy is weakness, champion." "No," Goku countered. "Mercy is strength. It takes more courage to spare an enemy than to kill them." For a long moment, they stood in silence, evaluating each other. Then Hela laughed, a genuine sound of amusement rather than mockery. "You are unlike any being I've encountered in thousands of years," she declared. "A warrior with the power to challenge gods, yet the heart of a child." She dismissed her weapons with a casual gesture. "Our bargain may prove more interesting than I anticipated." Goku allowed his power to subside, the green-gold aura fading. "I still don't understand why you chose me. There must be plenty of powerful warriors in your realms." "None like you," Hela replied without hesitation. "Your power is different. Purer somehow, yet adaptable." She circled him slowly, appraising Ly. "And the way you died, fighting a cosmic entity alone, buying time for others to escape, that speaks to character beyond mere strength." She stopped in front of him. "Besides, the prophecy was quite specific." "Prophecy?" Goku's brow furrowed. "You didn't mention any prophecy before." "Didn't I?" Hela's smile turned enigmatic. "An oversight, surely." She turned and walked toward the arena's exit. "Rest now, champion. Restore your strength. Dawn comes quickly in Helheim." Goku watched her go, suspicion mingling with curiosity. She was hiding something, nothing important about why she'd really brought him back. But confronting her now would likely yield nothing but more deflection. Better to wait, observe, and learn more about this strange new realm and its goddess of death. One thing was certain. There was more to Hela than the cold, ruthless queen she presented herself as. And Goku had always been good at seeing through to people's true nature. The chamber provided for Goku was surprisingly comfortable, spacious and well-appointed, if decorated in Hela's preferred palette of black, green, and gold. A massive bed dominated one wall, eel weapons and armor displays filled another. A balcony overlooked the misty plains of Helheim, where Hela's undead army stood in eternal formation. After exploring the room, Goku settled into meditation, seeking to better understand the changes in his ki. Cross-legged on the floor, Eyes closed, he turned his awareness inward, exploring the flow of energy through his reconstructed body. His leaf E-force was essentially the same, the familiar warmth and power that had served him through countless battles. But now it was intertwined with something else. Hela's death essence flowed alongside his ki like a shadow companion. Cool and ancient. When he tried to separate them, pain lanced through his chest. The binding was as physical as it was mystical, it seemed. But when he accepted both energies as parts of a whole, they responded harmoniously, enhancing rather than hindering each other. Interesting, he murmured, opening his eyes. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Enter, he called, rising to his feet. The door opened to reveal a young woman bearing a tray of food. Unlike the Draugr warriors, she appeared fully alive, though her pale complexion and the hollow K in her eyes suggested she wasn't exactly thriving. Her Majesty commanded refreshment be brought to you, the servant said, setting the tray on a table. She thought you might require sustenance after your revival. Goku's stomach growled loudly in response, drawing a startled look from the woman. He laughed, rubbing the back of his head in a characteristic gesture. Thanks, I'm starving, he admitted, approaching the table eagerly. The meal was generous. Roasted meat, bread, fruits, and a flagon of what smelled like strong mead. Goku sat and began eating with his usual enthusiasm, though, he noted the flavors seemed slightly muted compared to his memories of food. The servant remained by the door, watching him with curious eyes. You're different from Her Majesty's other champions, she observed quietly. Goku paused mid-bite. Other champions? There have been others. The woman's eyes widened as she realized her mistake. I shouldn't have spoken. Please forget my words. She backed toward the door. Wait, Goku said gently. I'm not going to tell on you or anything. I'd just like to know more about this place. About Hela. The servant hesitated, conflict evident in her expression. Finally, caution won out. I cannot, my lord. Her Majesty sees and hears all in her realm. She bowed deeply. Enjoy your meal. Before Goku could press further, she slipped out, closing the door firmly behind her. He frowned thoughtfully as he resumed eating. Other champions. What had happened to them? And what did that mean for his own future? Once again, he sensed there was much Hela wasn't telling him. Sleep eluded Goku that night. Whether due to his resurrection, the unfamiliar energies coursing through him, or simple weariness, he found himself restless. Eventually, he abandoned the bed in favor of the balcony, gazing out at the strange landscape of Helheim. The realm existed in perpetual twilight, not fully dark, but never bright. Green mist swirled across the plains, occasionally revealing glimpses of ancient structures and wandering souls too weak to serve in Hela's army. Beautiful, in its way, isn't it? Goku turned to find Hela standing in the doorway. Her battle armor replaced by a simpler gown of emerald silk. Without her headdress, her long black hair fell loose around her shoulders, softening her appearance slightly. It's different, he replied diplomatically. Hela laughed softly, approaching to stand beside him at the railing. A diplomatic answer. You find it dismal, I'm sure, compared to the vibrant worlds you've known. Goku shrugged. Every place has its own kind of beauty. Even a realm of death. Maybe especially a realm of death, he replied thoughtfully. Death gives meaning to life. At least, that's what King Kai used to say. This King Kai sounds wise, Hela observed. Is he your ruler? Goku laughed at the idea. No, more like a teacher. One of many I've had. His expression turned nostalgic. Master Roshi, King Kai, I've been lucky to learn from some amazing masters. And now you find yourself under the tutelage of Death herself, Hela mused. An interesting progression. Her usual fierce expression, she looked younger. Almost vulnerable. Why are you really here, Hela? I doubt you came to chat about teachers. She smiled, appreciating his directness. Perceptive. I came to ensure why. Oh, you were adjusting well to your resurrection. The process can be disorienting. That's partly true, Goku acknowledged. But not the whole truth. Hela turned to face him fully, her green eyes searching his. You intrigue me, Saiyan. Most beings tremble in my presence, either from fear or worship. You do neither. Should I? He asked simply. Perhaps, she replied. I am Hela Odin's daughter, firstborn of the All-Father. Rightful heir to Asgard, goddess of death. I've conquered realms, slaughtered armies, and claimed the souls of countless beings across millennia. And yet here you are, talking to me instead of conquering something, Goku pointed out with a slight smile. Makes me think there's more to you than death and destruction. Hela's expression flickered with something unreal. Dabble before returning to its usual controlled state. Don't mistake conversation for weakness, champion. I simply believe in understanding my tools thoroughly. I'm not a tool, Goku said quietly but firmly. No. Hela moved closer, close enough that Goku could feel the chill emanating from her immortal form. Then what are you, Goku of the Saiyans? A partner, an ally. Her voice dropped to a near whisper. Something else entirely. Quote, the moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken tension. Goku remained still, neither retreating nor advancing, his dark eyes steady on hers. Finally, Hela stepped back, a calculating smile playing at her lips. Rest while you can, champion. Dawn approaches, and with it, our journey to Asgard. She turned to leave, pausing at the doorway. And Goku, I look forward to seeing how you adapt to the realm eternal. It should prove educational for us both. After she departed, Goku released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The goddess of death was playing some game beyond the obvious, testing him for reasons he couldn't yet fathom. Whatever her true intentions, one thing was becoming clear: Hela's interest in him went beyond his usefulness as a warrior against the Void Collective. The question was whether that interest would prove beneficial or dangerous in the long run. Given that she was the goddess of death, Goku suspected the answer might be both. Dawn in Helheim arrived not with sunlight but with a subtle lightening of the perpetual gloom. Goku, already dressed in the black and green armor Hela had provided, street-ood ready in the central courtyard of her fortress. He'd spent the remaining hours of night practicing forms, working to synchronize his movements with his altered energy flow. Hela arrived with her usual dramatic flair, materializing from shadows that seemed to congeal into her form. Her battle armor gleamed in the dim light, and her headdress had returned, though in a more streamlined design. Punctual, she noted with approval. A quality I value. Scourge followed a few paces behind, his massive axe strapped to his back and a wary expression on his scarred face. He clearly still didn't trust Goku, a sentiment Goku found entirely reasonable. How exactly are we getting to Asgard? Goku asked. I can use instant transmission, but I need to sense someone's energy at the destination. Asgard lies beyond such methods. Hela explained. The 9 realms are connected by the Bifrost, a bridge between worlds controlled by my father. But there are other paths. She gestured to an NT stone archway at the courtyard's edge. Hidden pathways known only to a few. As they approached the archway, Goku noticed runes similar to those used in his resurrection ritual carved into the stone. Hela placed her hand against the central rune, which began to glow with eerie green light. These passages require significant power to navigate, she continued. Most beings would be torn apart by the journey. But you, champion, should find it merely uncomfortable. Reassuring, Goku commented dryly. Hela smiled at his sarcasm. Scourge will remain here to oversee Helheim in my absence. Our mission requires subtlety, not brute force. She glanced at her executioner. Keep the armies ready. Should we fail to return within 3 days, begin preparations for full-scale war. Scourge bowed deeply. Yes, my queen. Hela turned back to the archway, which now framed a swirling vortex of darkness punctuated by flashes of green energy. Stay close to me, champion. The paths between realms can be deceptive. Goku nodded, mentally preparing himself. After facing universal destruction, interdimensional travel seemed like a minor challenge. Without further warning, Hela stepped into the vortex, disappearing instantly. Goku followed without hesitation, plunging into cold darkness that pressed against him from all sides. The sensation was unlike anything he'd experienced before. Not the clean instantaneous jump of instant transmission or even the strange distortion of time chamber travel. This was a physical passage through something that existed between realities, a place that seemed to resist his very presence. Pressure built around him, squeezing his reconstructed body. The death essence within him resonated with the pathway, easing his passage somewhat, but his ki flared defensively. creating friction that manifested as pain. Just as the discomfort threatened to become unbearable, the darkness shattered like glass. Goku stumbled forward onto solid ground, blinking in sudden, golden light. Asgard. The realm eternal spread before them in breathtaking majesty, a shining city of impossible architecture, buildings that seemed to defy gravity with their soaring spires and massive arches. Everything gleamed with gold and silver, reflecting light from a sun that seemed larger and brighter than any Goku had seen before. They stood on a cliffside overlooking the city, concealed from view by ancient trees with silver leaves that whispered in a gentle breeze. The air itself felt different, charged with energy that reminded Goku of the lookout on Earth, but more intense. Magnificent, isn't it? Hela's voice held a complex mixture of pride, bitterness, and longing. The shining beacon of the 9 realms. Built on blood and conquest, then sanitized for history's comfort. Goku glanced at her, noting the genuine emotion in her usually controlled expression. You miss it, he observed quietly. I miss what it was, she corrected. What it should be. She turned away from the view, her features hardening back into their customary mask. But sentiment serves no purpose. We have a mission to complete. She gestured to their clothing, which had transformed during their passage. Gone was the distinctive black and green armor, replaced by more subdued Asgardian garb, still fine enough to mark them as nobility, but lacking any connection to Hela's usual style. A glamour, she explained. To most eyes, we'll appear as minor nobles from a distant province. Unremarkable, forgettable. Goku looked down at himself, intrigued by the illusion. Will it fool Odin? Not for a moment, Hela admitted, but Odin rarely concerns himself with visitors to the city. So long as we avoid the palace proper, we should maintain our cover. And the vault we need to access. Where's that? Beneath the palace, naturally. Hela's smile held no humor. Protected by the Einherjar elite guard, magical wards, and Odin's ravens who see all within the realm. So, pretty well guarded. Indeed, which is why we'll wait until nightfall, when the changing of the guard provides a brief window of opportunity. She started down a hidden path that wound toward the city. Until then, I believe you would benefit from seeing Asgard. Understanding what we fight to preserve. Goku followed, his senses alert to this new realm's energy. And so you can show me what you think should be yours. Hela glanced back, approval in her eyes. Perceptive again, champion. Yes, I want you to see what Odin stole. I was born to rule. As they descended toward the gleaming city, Goku considered Hela's words. There was pain beneath her ambition, a sense of betrayal that ran deep. Understanding that might prove as valuable as any knowledge they sought in Odin's vault. And perhaps, just perhaps, it might help him uncover what the goddess of death truly wanted from her resurrected champion. Asgard's market district bustled with activity, merchants hawking exotic goods from across the 9 realms. Warriors boasting of recent conquests, children weaving through crowds as they played elaborate games of strategy and skill. The architecture soared overhead, creating spaces that felt both intimate and vast. Goku found himself genuinely enjoying the exploration despite the circumstances. After the gloom of Helheim, Asgard's vibrant energy was refreshing. Hela walked beside him, her glamoured appearance drawing no special attention, though Goku noticed how her eyes constantly scanned their surroundings, alert for threats or opportunities. The Asgardians believed themselves peaceful now, she commented as they passed a group of warriors comparing weapons. They've forgotten that every stone in this city was paid for with blood. Every privilege they enjoy came from conquest. People change, Goku suggested. Maybe they learned better ways. Hela's laugh was soft but bitter. They became complacent and weak. They called it peace. She nodded toward the distant palace that dominated the cityscape. Odin's greatest deception was convincing Asgard that it had always been a benevolent protector rather than a ruthless conqueror. Before Goku could respond, commotion erupted ahead, people backing away from the center of the market square as a group of warriors surrounded a smaller figure. Thief! One shouted, brandishing a sword at what appeared to be a young woman. Return what you stole or lose the hand that took it. The accused, slender, with auburn hair and a defiant expression, backed against a fountain. I took nothing. Your purse was gone before I ever passed your table. Liar! The warrior advanced menacingly. I felt your hands, girl. Without thinking, Goku moved forward, placing himself between the warrior and the accused thief. "That's enough," he said firmly. "There's no need for violence." The warrior, a burly man with an elaborate beard adorned with metal beads, looked Goku up and down with contempt. "Stand aside, stranger. This is no concern of yours." "I'm making it my concern," Goku replied calmly. "The lady says she didn't take anything. Maybe you should check again before making accusations." The warrior's face reddened with anger. "You dare question my honor?" He raised his sword. "Perhaps you'd prefer to settle this as true Asgardians do." Goku remained perfectly still, unimpressed by the display. "I'd prefer not to embarrass you in front of your friends. But if you insist." The warrior roared and swung his blade in a powerful arc meant to cleave Goku from shoulder to hip. To the astonished crowd, it appeared as though the stranger simply stood there as the blade descended. Only the warrior felt what really happened, his sword stopping abruptly as it met Goku's raised index finger, the impact jarring his arm to the shoulder. "Like I said," Goku stated quietly, "there's no need for violence." The warrior stared in disbelief, then dropped his sword and backed away. "Sorcery," he muttered. "Keep the coin, thief. It's not worth crossing a satyr." As the crowd dispersed, murmuring about magic users and strange outlanders, Hela appeared at Goku's side. Her expression mixed amusement and irritation. "So much for maintaining a low profile," she murmured. "Though I must admit, your restraint was impressive." The young woman who'd been accused studied Goku with open curiosity. "You're not from Asgard," she stated rather than asked. "No Asgardian fights like that. Just passing through," Goku replied with an easy smile. "Are you all right?" "Thanks to you." She hesitated, then withdrew a small purse from her sleeve. "Though I did take his money. He cheated my brother at dice last night." Goku's eyebrows rose in surprise, while Hela laughed openly. "Honesty after the fact," the goddess commented. "How refreshing." The young woman's gaze shifted to Hela, her expression changing from gratitude to something more cautious. "There's something strange about you two." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You're hiding something significant. I can sense it." Hela's amusement vanished instantly, her hand moving slightly in preparation to conjure a weapon. "What are you, girl? Speak carefully." "Sigyn," she replied, unintimidated. "Apprentice to the Norn seers." She glanced around, then added urgently, "And you should know that Heimdall's gaze has turned in this direction. Whatever you're hiding won't remain hidden for long." Goku tensed. "Heimdall, the all-seeing guardian," Hela explained tersely. She fixed Sigyn with an intense stare. "What do you want, little seer?" "To help," Sigyn replied simply. "The threads of fate have shifted dramatically in recent days. Something approaches that threatens all realms." Her eyes moved to Goku. "And you're not supposed to be here. Your presence creates ripples in the weave." "Smart girl," Hela murmured. "But dangerous." Her fingers twitched, a small blade materializing between them. Goku placed a restraining hand on Hela's arm. "She's offering help," he reminded the goddess. "And if this Heimdall is already looking our way, we could use an ally who knows the city." Hela's eyes narrowed, but after a moment, she nodded slightly. The blade vanished as quickly as it had appeared. "Very well," she conceded. "But one sign of betrayal, little seer, and you'll discover exactly who you're dealing with." Sigyn nodded solemnly. "I know exactly who you are, Lady Death. The question is whether you know what you've unleashed by bringing him here." She gestured to Goku. His thread should have ended. Yet now it weaves through the pattern in ways I cannot fully see. Before either could respond, she turned and started walking. "Come, there's a place we can speak safely." As they followed the young seer through increasingly narrow streets, Goku glanced at Hela. "You were going to kill her," he observed quietly. "I was considering it," Hela admitted without remorse. "Seers are dangerous, especially those trained by the Norns. They see too much. Maybe seeing too much is exactly what we need right now." Hela's lips curved in a reluctant smile. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you're too quick to trust, champion." "Better that than too quick to kill," he countered. Their eyes met, a silent battle of wills that ended with Hela's slight nod of acknowledgement. "We shall see whose approach proves wiser before this day ends." Ahead, Sigyn turned down an alley so narrow they had to proceed single file, eventually stopping at a small wooden door set into a stone wall. She traced a pattern on the weathered surface. murmuring words too quiet to hear. The door swung open silently, revealing darkness beyond. After you, she offered, gesturing for them to enter. Goku went first, ready for anything. Hela followed, her stance equally alert. Sigyn came last, closing the door behind them and plunging them momentarily into complete darkness. Then light bloomed, not from torches or lamps, but from thousands of glowing threads that crisscrossed the chamber in complex patterns. They hung in midair, creating a three-dimensional web that filled the space from floor to ceiling. The Fate Weave, Sigyn explained, moving among the threads with practiced ease. A smaller version of what the Norns maintain. Each thread represents a life, each intersection a meeting or event. Goku stared in wonder, reaching out cautiously toward a nearby strand that pulsed with golden light. "Can I touch it?" "I wouldn't," Sigyn advised. "Not unless you want to experience that person's entire existence in a moment. It can be overwhelming." She led them to the center of the chamber, where contained a table and 3 chairs. "Please, sit. We don't have much time before Heimdall pinpoints your location." As they settled at the table, Sigyn fixed her gaze on Hela. "You've disturbed the pattern grievously, goddess of death. Resurrection is one thing, but to bring back a being from another universe entirely, one whose death was a fixed point." She shook her head. "The consequences will be severe." "I'm aware of the risks," Hela replied coolly. "But the alternative was worse. The Void Collective." "Yes, I've seen their shadow in the weave," Sigyn interrupted. "Black gaps where threads simply end." She turned to Goku. "But you're something entirely new. Your thread appears and disappears, as if you exist both within and outside the pattern." Goku frowned thoughtfully. "Is that because I'm from another universe?" "Partly," Sigyn acknowledged. "But it's more than that. Here's something about your very nature that resists being bound by fate." Her expression turned curious. "What are you, exactly?" "I'm a Saiyan," Goku answered simply. "Or I was. Now I'm something else, I guess." "He is my champion," Hela stated definitively. "Bound to me through the ritual of necromantic binding." Sigyn's eyes widened. "That ritual hasn't been performed in thousands of years. The cost was paid." Hela cut her off. "What matters now is our mission. We seek knowledge from Odin's vault, information about the barriers between realms and how to strengthen them." "The Cosmic Codex," Sigyn nodded in understanding. "Odin's compilation of all known dimensional barriers and their properties." She hesitated. "It's one of the most heavily guarded artifacts in Asgard, second only to the Infinity Stones themselves." Quote, "Can you help us access it?" Goku asked directly. Sigyn studied him intently. "Why should I? For all I know, your presence could hasten the very collapse you claim to prevent." "Because you've already seen what happens if we fail," Hela replied before Goku could speak. "You've seen the threads end, little seer." "All of them." Sigyn's expression confirmed Hela's words. After a long moment, she nodded. "There is a way into the vault that even Heimdall doesn't watch constantly. A passage created during Asgard's construction and forgotten by all but the Norns." She rose and moved to the Fate Weave, carefully separating certain threads to reveal what appeared to be a map of the palace. "Here," she indicated a point near the eastern wall. "There's a reflection pool in the royal gardens. Beneath it lies an ancient well that connects to the roots of Yggdrasil itself. Follow it deep enough, and you'll find a passage that leads directly to the vault chamber." "And the guards?" Hela asked practically. "The passage emerges behind the vault's primary magical barrier," Sigyn explained. "You'll bypass most of the security, but the codex itself has additional protections. Blood wards keyed to Odin's line." Hela smiled coldly. "That, at least, presents no difficulty." "There's something else you should know," Sigyn added, her expression grave. "The disturbance caused by your partnership has drawn attention from beyond Asgard. There's another player involved now, one I cannot clearly see in the weave." "The Void Collective," Goku suggested. "No," Sigyn shook her head. "Something else. Something from your world, perhaps. The pattern shows a connection to you, but it's obscured." Goku and Hela exchanged concerned glances. "How soon can we access this passage?" Hela asked. "Tonight," Sigyn replied. "During the Feast of Einherjar, when the palace guard is reduced. I can guide you to the entry point, but no further. The well's magic would overwhelm my senses." "That's enough," Goku assured her. We appreciate your help. Sigyn turned to him with a curious expression. May I? She asked, reaching toward him hesitantly. Goku nodded, unsure what she intended. Sigyn placed her fingertips lightly on his forehead, her eyes going distant as she connected to his thread in the fate weave. After a moment, she withdrew her hand, blinking rapidly. Extraordinary, she whispered. So much death and rebirth. So much power given and taken. Her eyes refocused on Goku. You've died before. A few times, he admitted with characteristic understatement. And each time changed the fate of your universe. She glanced at Hela. You chose well, goddess of death. If anyone can withstand what's coming, it's him. She moved toward the door. Rest here until dusk. You'll be hidden from Heimdall's sight within these walls. I'll return to guide you when it's time. After Sigyn departed, Goku turned to Hela. You trust her? Not entirely, Hela replied honestly. But her kind are bound to the maintenance of fate itself. If the Void Collective threatens all existence, the Norns will oppose it by necessity. She leaned back in her chair, studying Goku with renewed interest. Multiple deaths and resurrections. You continue to surprise me, champion. Goku shrugged. Death isn't always permanent where I come from. So I've gathered, Hela replied dryly. Though I wonder if your casual relationship with mortality might be part of what drew the Void Collective to your universe in the first place. What do you mean? Death is meant to be final. Hela explained. In my realm, resurrection is rare and costly. But from what you've described, your universe treats the boundary between life and death almost as a revolving door. Such instability in fundamental cosmic laws creates weaknesses in dimensional barriers. Goku considered this thoughtfully. So the Dragon Balls, the resurrection techniques, they might have made my universe vulnerable. It's possible, Hela acknowledged. Which makes our mission all the more vital. The Cosmic Codex may reveal how to repair such damage before it's too late. She rose gracefully, moving among the glowing threads of the fate weave. Rest while you can, champion. Tonight will test us both. As Hela explored the chamber, Goku watched her with growing curiosity. The goddess of death was revealing more complexity with each passing hour, ruthlessness tempered with strategic patience, arrogance alongside genuine concern for her realm's survival. And beneath it all, a loneliness he recognized from his brief glimpse of her memories during the resurrection ritual. A loneliness he understood better than she might suspect. Tonight would indeed test them both, but perhaps not in the ways either anticipated. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Realms Beyond. Dusk settled over Asgard like liquid gold, bathing the realm eternal in warm light that glinted off spires and domes. Shadows lengthened across the Fate Weaver's chamber as Goku completed a series of kata, movements deliberately slowed to test his control over the dual energies now flowing through him. With each precise motion, emerald-tinged ki rippled beneath his skin, sometimes flaring outward when concentration momentarily slipped. The unfamiliar resonance of death energy remained unpredictable, responding more to emotion than the disciplined focus that had always governed his power. Hela observed from across the chamber, her form partially obscured among the glowing threads of fate. Your technique is impressive, she noted. Even with the binding complicating your control. Goku completed the sequence before responding, settling into a relaxed stance. It's getting easier. Just need to stop fighting against the new energy and work with it instead. A wise approach, Hela acknowledged, stepping through the fate weave with careful precision. No thread disturbed by her passage. Most beings resist death's power, treating it as antithetical to their life force. You've adapted remarkably quickly. I've had practice integrating different kinds of energy before. Goku rolled his shoulders, working out tension. God Ki, Ultra Instinct. They all required learning to think differently about power. Curiosity flickered across Hela's features. These terms, God Ki, Ultra Instinct, they mean nothing to me. Yet clearly represent significant capabilities. Their techniques I learned. Goku began, but stopped as the chamber door swung open. Sigyn entered, now dressed in deeper blues that blended with evening shadows. She carried a bundle of cloth, which she set on the table before addressing them. Heimdall continues searching, she informed them without preamble. 3 patrols have already passed through this district. The All-Father knows something disrupts the natural order of Asgard. But they haven't located us specifically, Hela confirmed. Not yet, Sigyn unfolded the bundle, revealing 2 hooded cloaks of muted green. These are woven with concealment enchantments. Not enough to hide you completely, but sufficient to obscure your unique energies from casual detection. Goku accepted one cloak, examining the intricate runes embroidered along its edges with metallic thread. Never was much for disguises, he commented with a slight smile, but I appreciate the help. The feast begins soon, Sigyn continued, checking a delicate timepiece that appeared to function via shifting sands of multiple colors. The Einherjar will rotate guards, leaving the stern approach to the royal gardens minimally patrolled for approximately 20 minutes. Hela donned her cloak with practiced ease, the fabric settling around her glamoured form. And the well entrance, will it be accessible? The reflection pool is used for ceremonial purposes only, Sigyn explained. None visit it during evening hours. She hesitated, then added, however, there's a complication. There always is, Hela remarked dryly. A delegation of Vanir arrived this morning, unusually timed, given the feast preparations. Sigyn's expression grew troubled. Among them is Lady Freya, who often walks the gardens at dusk. Her presence was unexpected in the weave. Goku secured his own cloak, the unfamiliar weight settling across his shoulders. Is she dangerous? Freya. Sigyn's laugh held genuine amusement. She's the goddess of love, fertility, and healing, hardly a warrior. But her Ser is strong, particularly in matters of perception. She might sense you despite the cloaks. Another complication to manage, Hela stated dismissively. We'll proceed regardless. Time grows short. Sigyn nodded, though her expression remained concerned. Then let us depart. We Saint travel through lesser-used pathways to avoid notice. As they prepared to leave, Goku performed one final check of his energy control, drawing his ki inward until it merely simmered beneath the surface. The death essence proved harder to suppress, its cold fire stubbornly persistent. Hela noticed his struggle. Don't waste effort trying to conceal my power completely, she advised. Instead, let it disperse thinly, like mist rather than flame. Asgard has ambient death energy in small measures, yours will blend if properly distributed. Goku nodded, adapting his technique accordingly. The sensation was counterintuitive, deliberately allowing energy to leak rather than maintaining tight control, but effective. The emerald undertones to his aura faded to near invisibility. Better, Hela approved. You learn quickly. When it comes to fighting and energy control, Goku replied with characteristic modesty, I've had good teachers. Something flickered across Hela's expression, perhaps surprise at being indirectly included among those teachers. Before she could respond, Sigyn gestured for them to follow, and they slipped out into the deepening Asgardian twilight. Unlike the broad avenues they'd traversed earlier, Sigyn led them through a labyrinth of narrow passages, servant corridors, maintenance tunnels, and occasionally spaces that seemed designed specifically as hidden routes. The architecture grew progressively more ancient as they approached the palace grounds, stone giving way to materials Goku couldn't identify. These passages predate modern Asgard, Sigyn explained quietly as they ducked beneath an arch covered in eroded runes. From when the realm was first settled, before Buri's time. Before my grandfather, Hela elaborated for Goku's benefit. Few remember Asgard's true origins now. Odin rewrote history to suit his preferred narrative. The bitterness in her tone caught Goku's attention. Throughout their journey, Hela's comments about Asgard had revealed deep wounds beneath her imperious demeanor, a complex relationship with both the realm and its ruler that went beyond simple ambition. Their path eventually opened onto a small courtyard enclosed by high hedges. The distant sounds of celebration drifted from the great hall, music, laughter, the occasional roar of approval as warriors recounted tales of glory. The royal gardens lie beyond that gate. Sigyn indicated a wrought iron entrance partially obscured by climbing roses. The reflection pool is in the center, surrounded by 9 white trees representing the realms. She drew a small vial of silvery liquid from within her robes. Pour this into the pool once you've reached it. The liquid will sink to the bottom and reveal the passage. Hela accepted the vial, tucking it securely away. You're not accompanying us further. I cannot, Sigyn replied with genuine regret. My oath to the Norns prevents me from directly interfering with artifacts of power such as the Codex. Guiding you this far already stretches the boundaries of my obligation to maintain the weave. Goku studied the young seer with new respect. Despite obvious concerns, she'd risked much to assist them. Thank you for your help, Sigyn. Don't thank me yet, she cautioned. The path ahead holds dangers I cannot clearly see. Her eyes, reflecting starlight, seemed momentarily ancient despite her youthful features. There's something important you should know. When I examined your thread in the weave, I saw multiple potential futures branching from this night. That's hardly unusual, Hela noted impatiently. All moments contain multiple possibilities. Not like this, Sigyn insisted. Most futures contain branches that eventually rejoin the main flow of fate. Yours. She looked directly at Goku. Yours split permanently, with no rejoining. As if this night creates entirely separate timelines rather than mere variations. Goku absorbed this information with characteristic calm. Whatever happens, we'll face it. We don't have the luxury of turning back now. Sigyn nodded, seemingly reassured by his resolve. Then I wish you success. She stepped back into the shadow of the passage they'd emerged from. If you survive this night, seek me at the Observatory of Threads. There's more I would discuss with you both. With those cryptic words, she disappeared into the darkness, leaving Goku and Hela alone in the quiet courtyard. She sees more than she reveals, Hela observed, moving toward the garden gate. A trait common to all who study fate. Do you trust her? Goku asked, falling into step beside the goddess. Trust is a luxury rarely afforded to beings like me, Hela replied. But her information appears accurate thus far. The Norns value cosmic stability. High above all else, our goals temporarily align with theirs. The gate yielded to Hela's touch, swinging open soundlessly to reveal a garden of unearthly beauty. Even in twilight, flowers glowed with soft internal luminescence, creating pools of colored light along winding paths. The air carried fragrances both familiar and alien, sweet blossoms mingling with spices Goku couldn't name. They moved silently through the garden, Hela leading with the confidence of one returning to familiar territory. Despite the urgency of their mission, Goku found himself affected by the tranquil beauty surrounding them, a stark contrast to the bleak landscapes of Helheim. You lived here once, he observed quietly. Before your imprisonment. Hela didn't break stride, but her profile hardened slightly. This garden was my mother's creation. One of the few places in Asgard untouched by Odin's revisionist efforts after my removal from history. The personal revelation, freely offered, surprised Grespond. Hela raised a hand in warning. They froze as voices drifted from around a curve in the path ahead, female voices speaking in low, melodious tones. Most unusual timing for the convergence preparations, one was saying. The alignment itself remains months away. Odin rushes because he senses something amiss, a second voice responded. Though whether the threat comes from within or without Asgard remains unclear. Hela gestured toward a side path partially concealed by hanging vines. They slipped behind this natural curtain just as two women rounded the corner, one tall and golden-haired, wearing flowing robes of autumn colors, the other dark-haired and armored in the distinctive style of Asgard's elite warriors. The Valkyrie have been mobilized, the warrior woman stated, her stand. CE alert despite the peaceful surroundings. Unusual during peacetime. These are hardly peaceful times, Kara, the golden-haired woman replied. Surely you've noticed the disturbances in the realms. Muspelheim stirs. Jotunheim grows colder. Even Midgard experiences anomalies their scientists cannot explain. From their hiding place, Goku studied both women with interest. The warrior, Kara, moved with the disciplined grace of a master combatant, her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. The other woman radiated a different kind of power, gentler but no less formidable, like sunlight given form. Freya, Hela whispered, barely audible even to Goku's enhanced hearing. And a Valkyrie. We must not be discovered. The women paused near a flowering bush, Freya gently touching a luminous bloom. The flowers sense it too, she observed. They grow out of season, reaching for light that shouldn't exist yet. The All-Father believes we face another war, Kara stated bluntly. Why else? You recall all Valkyrie from outpost duties. Perhaps, Freya replied, though her tone suggested skepticism. Or perhaps something approaches that transcends conventional conflict. Something that requires preparation of a different sort. They continued down the path, their voices fading as they moved deeper into the garden. Once certain they'd passed beyond hearing range, Hela emerged from concealment, her expression thoughtful. The Valkyrie mobilized, she murmured. Odin anticipates significant threat. Those were Odin's elite warriors. Goku asked as they resumed their course. Hela nodded. The Valkyrie serve as both his personal guard and collectors of fallen warriors for Valhalla. Formidable combatants individually, nearly unstoppable as a unit. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Once, long ago, they served me as well. They reached the center of the garden where the reflection pool lay, a perfect circle of still water surrounded by 9 white trees whose branches formed a natural dome overhead. Stars reflected on the water's surface, creating the illusion of infinite depth. The heart of Asgard, Hela stated quietly, approaching the pool's edge. One of the furs, key features created when the realm was formed. She withdrew Sigyn's vial, removing the stopper with practiced precision. The silvery liquid caught starlight as she poured it into the pool, spreading across the surface in spiraling patterns that resembled the fate weave's threads. For several moments, nothing happened. Then the liquid began to sink, not dissolving but descending intact through the water like a living entity. As it reached the bottom, the entire pool illuminated from within, revealing it to be far deeper than appearance suggested. The water began draining away, spiraling down, ward to expose ancient stone steps leading into darkness. Cold air rushed upward from the opening, carrying scents of earth and something older, primordial energies that made both ki and death essence resonate within Goku. The Well of Erd, Hela identified it, satisfaction evident in her voice. One of 3 cosmic wells that nourish Yggdrasil's roots. Goku peered into the revealed passage. This connects directly to the vault. Eventually, Hela confirmed, the path follows Yggdrasil's roots through multiple layers of reality before reaching our destination. She cast a final glance around the garden. We should proceed quickly. The water will return once we've descended beyond the first chamber. Without further discussion, Hela started down the steps, her form soon swallowed by darkness. Goku followed, drawing lightly on his ki to enhance his vision as the starlight faded behind them. The steps descended in a tight spiral, worn smooth by countless millennia. After what seemed like hundreds of steps, they opened onto a cavern of breathtaking scale, so vast that even Goku's enhanced sight couldn't discern its boundaries. What dominated the space, however, defied conventional description. A massive root, larger than many buildings Goku had seen, traversed the cavern from ceiling to floor, pulsing with internal light that shifted through colors beyond normal perception. Yggdrasil, Hela stated, her voice uncharacteristically reverent, the world tree that connects all realms. Goku approached the root cautiously, sensing power unlike anything he'd encountered before. Not ki, not magic as he understood it, but something more fundamental, as if reality itself had been condensed into physical form. It's alive, he observed, feeling pulses of energy synchronized with his heartbeat. More than alive, Hela corrected, its existence itself, the framework upon which all 9 realms depend. She placed a hand against the root's surface. And our path forward. At her touch, a section of the bark shifted, revealing an opening into the root's interior. Light spilled outward, warm amber rather than the cool, shifting colors of the exterior. We travel through Yggdrasil itself? Goku asked, surprised despite everything he'd already witnessed. The only way to bypass Asgard's defenses, Hela confirmed. Even Heimdall's gaze cannot penetrate the world tree's essence. They entered the passage, which closed seamlessly behind them. Inside, they found themselves in a tunnel of living wood, lined with fibrous material that emitted soft light. The passage curved gently downward, following the root's natural path. As they walked, Goku noticed something unexpected. His ki flowed more easily here, as if the environment itself supported and enhanced his energy rather than resisting it. Even the death essence from Hela's binding seemed more harmonious, blending with his natural power instead of creating friction. You feel it, Hela observed, noting his expression. Yggdrasil nurtures all energies, even those normally opposed. Within its embrace, the boundaries between life and death blur. It's incredible, Goku admitted, experimentally forming a small sphere of ki in his palm. The energy manifested as a perfect blend of golden light and emerald fire, stable in ways he hadn't achieved before. Use this opportunity wisely, Hela suggested. Practice while we walk. The harmonizing effect will help you understand how our energies can truly complement each other. For the next portion of their journey, Goku did exactly that, creating and manipulating increasingly complex energy structures while maintaining conversation with Hela. She proved surprisingly knowledgeable about energy manipulation, offering insights that, while framed in Asgardian terms, translated effectively to his understanding of ki. You've studied energy extensively, he noted after successfully creating a controlled vortex that combined both power sources. Death is fundamentally about energy transformation, Hela replied. To master death is to understand how energy moves between states of existence. She gestured to the surrounding tunnel. Yggdrasil demonstrates this perfectly: constant flow, constant change, yet maintaining essential structure. Their discussion continued as the passage gradually widened, eventually opening into another cavern, smaller than the first but still impressive. Here, the route they had been traveling through joined with several others, creating a nexus pool of liquid light at the center. The convergence point of multiple realms, Hela explained. Approaching the pool cautiously. Here, the barriers between worlds grow thin naturally. Goku joined her at the pool's edge, looking into depths that seemed to contain shifting landscapes, glimpses of other worlds briefly visible before dissolving into light again. This is like what Sigan showed us, he observed. The worlds moving closer together. Yes, though this is the natural order, Hela clarified. During the convergence, all 9 realms align perfectly, and passage between them becomes possible even for those without magical means. Her expression darkened. The Void Collective seeks to exploit this alignment, turning natural thinning into catastrophic collapse. Goku knelt beside the pool, studying the patterns with a warrior's analytical mind. Can you show me what the breaches look like? The places where these void things are pushing through? Hela considered the request, then placed her hand on the pool's surface. The liquid light responded immediately. The shifting images stabilizing into a single view, a tear in reality similar to what Goku had died fighting, though smaller and in a different cosmic location. This breach formed 3 days ago between Vanaheim and the Void, she explained. Already it grows, despite efforts to contain it. The image showed shadowy tendrils extending from the tear, probing the surrounding space like hungry fingers. Where they touched, reality itself seemed to fray, colors dulling and matter becoming less substantial. They're testing defenses, Goku observed grimly. Looking for weak points. Precisely, Hela agreed. Each probe gathers information, identifies vulnerabilities. She waved her hand, and the image shifted to show multiple tiers across different regions of space. They appear randomly at first glance, but follow a pattern visible only when viewed across multiple realms simultaneously. Goku studied the distribution of breaches with growing concern. They're creating a perimeter, surrounding both our universes. Quote, yes, a containment strategy. Hela's voice held reluctant respect for the tactical approach. Prevent escape while weakening structural integrity from all sides. The implications weren't lost on Goku. Unlike enemies he'd faced before, beings he could confront directly in combat, this threat operated on a scale that made conventional fighting nearly meaningless. No matter how powerful his Kamehameha, he couldn't blast an entire universe to safety. The Cosmic Codex, he refocused on their mission. It can tell us how to strengthen these boundaries. It contains knowledge of all dimensional barriers known to Asgard, Hela confirmed, including methods of repair and reinforcement developed during ancient wars against similar threats. She waved her hand again, and the pool returned to its shifting patterns. We should continue. Our window of opportunity grows short. They circled the pool, finding another passage opening on the far side. Is tunnel differed from the first, darker, with occasional branches leading in different directions. Hela navigated with confidence, never hesitating at intersections. You know these paths well, Gok. You noted after they'd walked in silence for some time. I explored Yggdrasil extensively in my youth, Hela replied. Before Odin decided my ambitions exceeded his comfort. Something like nostalgia briefly softened her features. The world tree holds secrets beyond even Asgard's understanding. I merely scratched its surface before my imprisonment. The passage gradually shifted from living wood to stone as they progressed, the organic light giving way to a cooler blue illumination from crystalline formations embedded in the walls. The air grew noticeably warmer, carrying metallic scents. We approach Asgard's foundations, Hela explained. The vault lies directly above us, surrounded by enchanted stone and Uru metal. I sense something, Goku said suddenly, stopping mid-stride. A presence, moving parallel to us. Hela froze, extending her supernatural senses. Yes, she confirmed after a moment. Something follows our path through a neighboring tunnel. They both pressed Agai. NST the wall as Hela extinguished the crystal light with a gesture, plunging their section of tunnel into darkness. Goku's enhanced hearing detected faint movements, too deliberate for any natural creature. Not Asgardian, Hela whispered, her lips close to Goku's ear. The energy signature is wrong. A distant scraping sound reached them, metal on stone, followed by what might have been voices, though in no language Goku recognized. The sounds grew progressively fainter, suggesting whatever entities shared the tunnels had moved away from their position. Another complication, Hela murmured as she restored the crystal light. Something else seeks access to Asgard through these passages. Friend or foe? Goku asked. In my experience, unexpected tunnel dwellers rarely qualify as friends, Hela replied dryly. But they move away from our destination. We'll proceed cautiously. They continued forward, both now alert for further signs of the mysterious presence. The passage eventually terminated at what appeared to be a solid wall of interlocking metal plates, each inscribed with runes that glowed faintly blue. The outer barrier of Odin's vault, Hela identified it. Designed to repel conventional magical approaches. Quote, but not us, Goku questioned. The barrier expects attacks from outside Asgard, Hela explained with a satisfied smile. We approach from beneath, through a path theoretically accessible only to those with royal blood. She placed her palm against the central plate. Blood recognizes blood, regardless of Odin's attempts to erase me from Asgard's memory. The runes flared brightly at her touch, changing from blue to green as they recognized her essence. The interlocking plates began shifting, rotating, and retracting to reveal a narrow opening just large enough for them to pass through single file. Quickly, Hela urged. The barrier will reset itself shortly. They slipped through the opening into a space that made Goku instantly think of Trey. Asur caves from Earth stories, albeit on a cosmic scale. The vault stretched before them, a long chamber lined with pedestals and display cases containing objects of obvious power and significance. Golden light suffused the space, emanating not from any visible source but from the very air itself. Odin's trophy room, Hela commented with undisguised contempt. Artifacts stolen from conquered realms, displayed as symbols of Asgard's dominance. They moved swiftly down the central aisle, Hela scanning each section with practiced efficiency. Many objects emanated energies that made Goku's enhanced senses tingle, a glowing cube, a fiery gauntlet, a hovering orb of swirling liquid darkness. He recognized power when he saw it, and this room contained enough to destroy worlds many times over. There, Hela indicated a recessed alcove near the vault's end. The Cosmic Codex. The artifact in question appeared deceptively simple, a sphere of what looked like glass, approximately the size of a basketball, resting on a silver pedestal. Within the sphere, galaxies and universes rotated in miniature, occasionally connecting via luminous threads before separating again. It doesn't look heavily guarded, Goku observed cautiously. The true protection lies in what you cannot see, Hela replied. Magical barriers, dimensional locks, and a blood seal that activates if unauthorized hands touch it. She approached the pedestal, examining the space around the codex with experienced eyes. As expected, Odin modified the protections since my time. The blood seal now specifically excludes me. So how do we get it? Goku asked. Hela's smile turned predatory. While Odin may have excluded my specific blood signature, he couldn't have accounted for what we now share. She turned to Goku. Your blood contains traces of my essence through our binding, yet carries Y nature. The seal might recognize you as both foreign and familiar, enough to create confusion in the enchantment. Worth trying, Goku agreed, stepping forward. What exactly do I do? Place your hand on the pedestal's surface, Hela instructed. If the seal activates against you, withdraw immediately. If not, lift Codex with both hands and speak the words I teach you. She leaned close, whispering an Asgardian phrase in Goku's ear. The words felt strange on his tongue as he mentally rehearsed them, carrying power even in spoken. With careful movements, Goku approached the pedestal. He extended his hand slowly, palm down, hovering just above the silver surface. Drawing a deep breath, he pressed his hand firmly against the metal. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then runes appeared across the pedestal's surface, spiraling outward from his palm. They glowed golden at first, then flickered uncertainly, shifting between gold and green as the enchantment attempted to identify his essence. "It's working," Hela whispered triumphantly. The seal recognizes conflicting signatures. The runes stabilize into a pulsing pattern of gold and green, neither rejecting nor fully accepting Goku's touch. Taking this as his cue, he carefully lifted the glass sphere with both hands, surprised by its weight, far heavier than its size suggested. "Now the words," Hela prompted. Goku spoke the Asgardian phrase, his pronunciation surprisingly accurate thanks to the binding's influence. The sphere responded immediately, the miniature galaxies within freezing in place as the glass surface became transparent as water. "Well done," Hela approved, moving to stand beside him. "Now we must." A thunderous boom interrupted her, shaking the entire vault. Dust and small fragments rained from the ceiling as the golden light briefly flickered. "What was that?" Goku asked, carefully securing the codex against his chest. "Nothing good," Hela replied grimly. "Either we've been discovered or—" A second explosion, closer than the first, cut her off. This time, the vault's main doors at the far end visibly dented inward from some tremendous impact. "Or someone else is attempting entry with considerably less subtlety than ourselves," Hela finished, conjuring her signature blades with a gesture. "We need to leave, now." The barrier they'd entered through had sealed itself, leaving no obvious retreat path. "Can we get back the way we came?" Goku asked, shifting to a defensive stance while protecting the codex. "Not quickly enough," Hela assessed as a third impact further damaged the main doors. Metal groaned as the massive barriers began to buckle. "We'll need an alternative exit." She scanned the vault rapidly, her gaze settling on a section of wall decorated with an intricate mural depicting Yggdrasil. "There, that conceals a passage to the weapons forge. From there we can reach the outer grounds." Before they could move, the vault doors finally gave way, crashing inward with a deafening boom. Through the dust and debris stepped a figure that made even Hela pause, tall and gaunt, gray-ski. NNED and clad in dark wrappings that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Most disturbing was the weapon it carried, a sort of living darkness that writhed and shifted in its wielder's grip. "Found you," the intruder growled, voice like stone grinding against metal. His eyes, featureless black pools, fixed not on the valuable artifacts surrounding him but directly on Hela. "Death Goddess, Gore," Hela identified him, her stance shifting to combat readiness. "The God Butcher, your reputation precedes you, as does yours, Odinsdottir." The gray being, Gore, took another step forward, his sword lengthening in anticipation. "The most powerful death deity in this pantheon. Your essence will feed my blade well." Goku assessed the newcomer with a warrior's eye, immediately recognizing the threat level. Whatever this being was, it radiated power and malice in equal measure, focused, disciplined hatred directed primarily at Hela. "Friend of yours?" he asked Hela quietly, shifting Codex to one arm while preparing to defend with the other. "Hardly," Hela replied, never taking her eyes off Gore. "He hunts and kills gods across all pantheons. A zealot who believes deities unworthy of worship or existence." "Butcher is a crude term," Gore stated, continuing his measured advance. "I am merely an executioner of cosmic justice. Gods create suffering, demand worship, play with mortal lives like toys." His black eyes shifted briefly to Goku. "And you, Death Goddess, have created something new, a mortal infused with divine essence." "An abomination. We don't have time for this," Hela muttered. "The vault alarm has certainly activated. Einherjar will arrive shortly." Gore's blade lashed forward without warning, extending impossibly to strike at Hela from across the chamber. She deflected with her own conjured weapon, the impact sending shockwaves through the vault that shattered several display cases. "Go," she commanded Goku. "Take the codex through the passage I indicated. I'll handle this zealot." "I'm not leaving you to fight alone," Goku protested, his free hand already gathering ki. This isn't about heroics, Hela snapped as she parried another strike. The Codex is our priority. If both universes are to survive, you must protect it. Before Goku could argue further, Gore launched a multi-pronged attack, his living weapon splitting into a dozen tender ILs that attacked from all directions simultaneously. Hela spun in a deadly dance, blades flashing as she intercepted each strike, but the sheer number forced her back step by step. Interesting, Gore observed coldly. You fight defensively. The great conqueror of realms chooses protection over offense. His gaunt face twisted in what might have been a smile. The mortal means something to you. He means nothing, Hela countered, launching her own barrage of conjured blades. He simply carries an artifact I require. Goku, meanwhile, made a split-second decision. Rather than retreating with the Codex as ordered, he carefully set it down behind a fallen display case, shielding it from the battle. Then, drawing on the harmonized energy he'd practiced in Yggdrasil's tunnels, he entered the fray. His first strike caught Gore by surprise, a key-enhanced punch that connected solidly with the God Butcher's jaw, sending him crashing into the vault's wall with enough force to crack the ancient stone. I said go, Hela hissed as Goku took position beside her. And I said I don't leave allies to fight alone, he replied calmly, settling into his combat stance. We can retrieve the Codex after we deal with him. Before Hela could argue further, Gore emerged from the rubble, dark ichor leaking from a split in his gray skin. Far from appearing injured, he looked interested. Fascinating, he rasped, studying Goku with newfound attention. Your energy, it's not of this universe. Yet it carries death's signature. His living blade writhed eagerly. What manner of being are you? The kind that doesn't like bullies. Goku replied simply. Then, to Hela, together on three. A complex mix of emotions crossed Hela's face, frustration, surprise, and something that might have been reluctant admiration. After a heartbeat, she nodded sharply. Together, they moved in perfect synchronization, Hela launching a barrage of blades to occupy Gore's defenses while Goku flanked with blinding speed. The God Butcher responded with inhuman reflexes, his dark weapon splitting again to counter both threats. What followed was a dance of death unlike anything the vault had witnessed in millennia. Hela's conjured weapons rained from all directions while Goku's key-enhanced strikes tested Gore's defenses with precision and power. The God Butcher matched them both, his living weapon extending, dividing, and reforming to counter each attack. You fight well together, Gore acknowledged as he parried a combination attack that would have overwhelmed lesser opponents. But I've killed gods who were eons. He suddenly reversed tactics, his blade transforming into a wave of darkness that rushed outward in all directions. Hela conjured a shield of crossed blades while Goku raised a key barrier. Both defenses holding but forcing them apart. Gore pressed his advantage against Hela, driving her back with relentless strikes while keeping Goku at bay with animated tendrils of darkness. You first, Death Goddess. He growled. Your essence will strengthen me for the mortal's execution. Recognizing the strategy, Goku channeled ki to his feet, launching himself upward to flip over the tendrils restraining him. At the apex of his jump, he formed a compressed sphere of energy, golden ki interwoven with emerald death essence, and hurled it directly at Gore's exposed back. The God Butcher sensed the attack too late. The energy sphere struck with devastating force, blasting him forward into Hela's waiting blades. 3 conjured swords pierced his torso simultaneously, pinning him briefly to the floor. Now, Hela called, already moving toward the mural she'd identified earlier. Goku retrieved the Codex and followed as Hela pressed her hand against a specific section of the mural. The wall rippled and parted, revealing a narrow passage beyond. They slipped through just as Gore tore himself free from the impaling blades, his roar of rage echoing through the vault. The passage sealed behind them as they ran. Though Goku suspected it wouldn't hold their pursuer for long. The tunnel sloped upward, eventually opening into what appeared to be a massive forge, glowing cruci. Bless of molten metal illuminating a cavernous space filled with half-finished weapons and armor. The heart of Asgard's weapon production, Hela explained as they navigated between workstations. Abandoned during the evening feast. That was Gore, Goku questioned as they moved. One of the threats you mentioned. An unexpected complication, Hela replied grimly. The God Butcher normally operates alone, targeting isolated deities in vulnerable positions. His presence here, Now, cannot be coincidence. He knew about me, Goku noted. About our connection. Yes, Hela's expression darkened. Which suggests information is leaking across boundaries it shouldn't cross. The Void Collective may have more allies than we realized. They reached the forge's far side, where massive doors S2 partially open to allow heat dissipation. Beyond lay outer courtyards currently deserted due to the ongoing feast. We need to reach the reflection pool again, Hela stated. It's our surest path back to Helheim with the Codex. As they slipped through the doors, alarm horns suddenly blared throughout the palace complex, deep, resonant tones that echoed across Asgard. The vault breach has been discovered. Hela translated unnecessarily. Every warrior in Asgard will mobilize. They crossed the courtyard quickly, keeping to shadows as golden lights activated throughout the palace. Already, sounds of armored soldiers assembling reached them from nearby barracks. This way, Hela directed, leading them along a covered colonnade that offered concealment from aerial observation. The gardens lie beyond that gate. Halt in the name of Asgard. The commanding voice came from behind them, accompanied by the distinctive sound of multiple weapons being drawn. They turned to find themselves facing 5 warriors in the unmistakable armor of the Valkyrie, led by the dark-haired woman they'd observed earlier with Freya. Kara, Hela identified her under her breath. Senior Valkyrie. The warrior women had formed a perfect semicircle, cutting off retreat. Each held a different weapon: sword, spear, axe, shield, and in Kara's case, a glowing energy blade that hummed with power. Identify yourselves, Kara demanded, her keen eyes studying them with professional assessment. What business have you in the palace during the Einherjar feast? Hela straightened, allowing her glam to partially dissolve. Not enough to reveal her true identity, but sufficient to project noble bearing. We are envoys from the outer provinces, she stated with perfect aristocratic inflection. Heir at Lord Tyr's request to deliver artifacts for assessment. Kara's expression remained skeptical. Lord Tyr attends the feast. He mentioned no envoys. Her gaze sharpened on the sphere Goku carried. What artifact requires such urgent delivery? It cannot wait for proper protocols. Before Hela could fabricate another explanation, the situation deteriorated dramatically. A massive explosion erupted from the direction of the weapons forge, sending debris flying across the courtyard. Through the newly created hole stepped Gore, his living blade now a massive scythe that trailed darkness like smoke. More gods to butcher, he observed with grim satisfaction, eyeing the Valkyrie. This grows interesting. The warrior women reacted instantly, forming a defensive line with practiced precision. Kara barked commands in a language Goku didn't recognize, sending 2 Valkyrie flanking wide while the others maintained center position. The God Butcher, Kara identified him, recognition and hatred evident in her voice. You dare attack Asgard directly? I follow the Death Goddess and her mortal pet, Gore replied, gesturing toward Hela and Goku. Their interference cannot be tolerated. Stand aside or join the dead. Kara's gaze snapped back to them, reassessment and suspicion evident. Death Goddess, she repeated, studying Hela more carefully. The moment of revelation never came. Gore launched himself forward with supernatural speed, his scythe sweeping in a horizontal arc that would have decapitated all 3 Valkyrie in the center if they hadn't responded with equally impressive reflexes. The courtyard erupted into battle as the elite warriors engaged the God Butcher. Despite their skill and coordination, it immediately became apparent that they faced a being beyond their experience. Gore's weapon changed forms constantly, countering each attack while launching its own, pressing the Valkyrie defensive line backward step by step. Now's our chance, Hela muttered, edging toward the garden gate while the Valkyrie were occupied. They won't last long against him, but they'll buy us time. Goku watched the uneven battle with growing concern. The Valkyrie fought with extraordinary skill and courage, but already 2 had sustained injuries. Kara led them brilliantly, adapting tactics on the fly, but Gore simply outmatched them in raw power. We can't just leave them, he stated firmly, handing the codex to Hela. They'll die fighting him. That is their purpose, Hela replied coldly. Valkyrie exist to die in battle. It's their highest honor. Maybe that's how you see it, Goku countered. Already gathering ki, but I don't abandon people who need help. Take the codex. I'll hold off Gore and catch up. Before Hela could object, Goku launched himself into the fray. his aura flaring gold and green as he channeled power through his enhanced body. He entered the battle with perfect timing, intercepting a strike that would have impaled Kara from behind. The Valkyrie leader spun in surprise as Goku deflected Gore's attack, their eyes meeting briefly. Confusion crossed her features at his intervention, but professional instinct prevailed. She immediately repositioned her remaining warriors to incorporate his assistance. The gardens. Goku called to Hela, engaging Gore directly to create space. "I'll find you." For a moment, Hela remained motionless, watching the battle with an unreadable expression. Then, clutching the codex against her chest, she slipped through the garden gate and disappeared into the shadows beyond. Gore, noticing her escape, snarled in frustration. "Fool, you let her flee with the codex. You won't be following her," Goku replied, settling into a fighting stance between Gore and the garden gate. "Your fight's with me now." The God Butcher assessed this new development with calculating eyes. "So be it. I'll extract her location from your corpse." He attacked with Rene's weapon, transforming into a storm of blades that attacked from all directions simultaneously. Goku responded with a technique he'd been developing since entering Yggdrasil's harmonizing influence, a rotating shield of ki infused with death essence that intercepted each strike while requiring minimal movement to maintain. The Valkyrie, rather than retreating to safety, reformed their line alongside him. Kara stepped forward, her energy blade humming as she addressed Goku without taking her eyes off Gore. "You fight well, stranger," she acknowledged tersely. "But the God Butcher has slain hundreds of immortals. What makes you think you can defeat him?" "I don't need to defeat him," Goku replied as he maintained his defensive shield. "Just keep him busy long enough for your companion to escape with a stolen artifact." Kara's tone sharpened. "You raid our vault, yet expect alliance against a common enemy. It's complicated," Goku admitted, deflecting another wave of attacks. "But right now, Gore is the bigger threat to everyone." Before Kara could respond, Gore changed tactics. His weapon dissolved into the ground beneath them, reappearing as dozens of spikes that erupted upward without warning. 2 Valkyrie fell immediately, impaled through their armor. Kara barely avoided the same fate, while Goku leapt skyward, using his ki to hover above the danger. "Enough games," Gore growled, reforming his weapon into a massive hammer. "Die like the others." He brought the hammer down with earth-shattering force. Kara rolled clear, but the remaining Valkyrie wasn't fast enough. The impact crushed her instantly, leaving only Kara standing among her fallen sisters. Rage flashed across the Valkyrie leader's face, cold, disciplined fury that focused rather than blinded. She raised her energy blade, which responded by glowing with increased intensity. "For Asgard and the Fallen," she intoned formally, then launched herself at Gore with lethal precision. Goku rejoined the battle from above, raining ki blasts to disrupt Gore's defenses while Kara engaged him directly. They fell into an effective partnership despite never having fought together before, her Asgardian combat training complementing his martial art's mastery in ways that kept the God Butcher constantly adjusting. For several intense minutes, they maintained the offensive, driving Gore back toward the forge. The God Butcher, however, showed no signs of tiring or serious injury despite their combined efforts. "You fight well for mortals," he acknowledged during a momentary lull. "But I've existed for thousands of years, fueled by divine NCE collected from hundreds of dead gods. You cannot win." "Maybe not," Goku conceded, gathering energy for a more powerful attack. "But we can make sure you lose too." He unleashed a concentrated beam of ki directly at Gore's chest. Not his most powerful attack, but precisely targeted to penetrate rather than overwhelm. Simultaneously, Kara lunged forward, her energy blade aimed at the exact spot Goku's beam would strike. The coordination nearly succeeded. Goku's energy blast staggered Gore momentarily, creating an opening for Kara's thrust. Her blade penetrated the God Butcher's gray flesh, drawing a hiss of pain and surprise from their opponent. But victory remained elusive. Gore's living weapon coiled around his body like armor, then exploded outward in all directions. The force sent both Goku and Kara flying backward, crashing into columns that cracked under the impact. Goku recovered first, centuries of combat experience allowing him to roll with the blow and regain his feet quickly. He moved immediately to Kara's position, finding the Valkyrie struggling to rise, blood streaming from a gash across her forehead. "Can you stand?" he asked urgently, offering his hand. Kara accepted his assistance with a warrior's pragmatism. "He's too powerful for direct confrontation," she assessed, wincing as she tested injured ribs. "We need reinforcements. We need to retreat," Goku corrected, noting Gore's approach. "Live to fight another day." For a proud Valkyrie, such suggestion would normally be anathema. But Kara was first and foremost a tactician. She nodded curtly. "The gardens. There are defensive positions we can utilize." They backed toward the garden gate, Goku maintaining a protective ki shield while Kara limped beside him. Gore followed with unhurried confidence, his weapon shifting between forms as if deciding which would deliver the most satisfying kill. "You've proven more entertaining than most," the God Butcher commented. "I'll ensure your deaths are relatively quick." They passed through the gate into the gardens beyond, immediately taking cover behind a massive flowering hedge. Distant sounds of alarm continued throughout the palace complex. But no reinforcements had yet reached their section. "Why does he hunt your companion specifically?" Kara questioned as they moved deeper into the gardens. "What is she to draw the God Butcher's attention?" Goku considered how much to reveal. "Someone important," he finally answered. "Someone trying to prevent a catastrophe greater than anything Asgard has faced before." Kara's piercing gasp suggested she caught the deliberate vagueness of his response. "And the artifact you stole?" "The Cosmic Codex. We didn't steal it," Goku corrected. "We borrowed it. There's a threat coming that requires its knowledge. Something that could destroy all 9 realms if we don't stop it." Before Kara could press further, the hedge behind them disintegrated, sliced to particles by Gore's weapon as God Butcher continued his relentless pursuit. "Running merely delays the inevitable," he called, stalking through the destroyed vegetation. "Face your end with dignity." They retreated further into the garden, Kara leading them through increasingly dense foliage toward what Goku recognized as the direction of the reflection pool. Whether intentionally or coincidentally, she was guiding them toward the same exit Hela would have taken. "Your Valkyrie sisters," Goku asked as they ran, "are they dead?" Kara confirmed, her voice tight with controlled grief. "All but me. Their souls already journey to Valhalla." Her expression hardened. "I will avenge them before joining them." They reached a small clearing dominated by a stone archway covered in flowering vines. Beyond it, Goku sensed the distinctive energy of the reflection pool, and, more importantly, Hela's presence nearby. "She waits for you," Kara observed, following his gaze toward the archway. "Your loyalty is admirable, if misplaced." Before Goku could respond, Gore burst into the clearing, his weapon now formed into twin blades that dripped darkness like poison. "End of the line," the God Butcher announced. "No more retreating." Kara stepped forward, positioning herself between Gore and the archway. "Go," she commanded Goku without looking back. "If what you say is true, if all realms truly face catastrophe, then your mission must continue." "I won't leave you to die," Goku protested, moving to stand beside her. "I am Valkyrie," Kara replied with quiet dignity. "Death in battle is not to be feared but embraced when the cause is worthy." She cast him a sidelong glance. "Is your cause worthy, stranger?" "Yes," Goku answered without hesitation. "The lives of countless beings depend on it." Kara nodded once, decision made. "Then honor my choice as I've honored your skill in battle. Complete your mission. Return if you survive." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "I would know more of your fighting techniques, in another life." "Perhaps." Before Goku could argue further, she launched herself at Gore with a battle cry that echoed through the garden. The God Butcher met her charge with eager violence, their weapons clashing in a shower of sparks and darkness. "Go!" Kara shouted as she engaged Gore in a flurry of strikes too fast for ordinary eyes to follow. "I'll hold him as long as necessary." Torn by conflicting loyalties, Goku hesitated. The mission demanded he retreat with the Codex, yet Ever's code rebelled against abandoning a valiant fighter to certain death. The decision was made for him as Hela emerged from the archway, her glamour fully dissolved to reveal her true appearance. "Champion," she called urgently. "The passage is open but will not remain so for long." With a final glance at Kara, still fighting with incredible skill despite being overmatched, Goku made his choice. He gathered ki into a compressed sphere, far more powerful than his previous attacks, and hurled it directly at Gore's back. "Kara, down!" he shouted. The Valkyrie reacted instantly, dropping flat as the energy blast struck Gore with devastating force. The God Butcher, caught by surprise, was propelled forward into a massive stone monument that shattered under the impact. Using the momentary advantage, Goku dashed to Kara's side, helping her to her feet. "Change of plans," he stated firmly. "You're coming with us." "What?" both Kara and Hela exclaimed simultaneously, though with very different intonations. "No time to argue," Goku insisted, supporting the injured Valkyrie toward the archway where Hela waited. Her expression a thundercloud of disapproval. "Gore won't stay down long." As if summoned by his words, rubble shifted as the God Butcher began to extricate himself from the monument's remains. His gray skin now bore multiple wounds leaking dark ichor, but his eyes burned with undiminished hatred. "Absolutely not," Hela hissed as they reached her position. "We cannot bring an Asgardian warrior into Helheim. Especially not a Valkyrie. She fought to protect our mission," Goku countered, his tone making clear this wasn't a point he would concede. "I won't leave her to die for it." Kara, for her part, looked between them with dawning comprehension. "Helheim," she repeated, her gaze fixing on Hela with new understanding. Yes," Hela confirmed impatiently. "Revelations can wait. He's coming." Indeed, Gore had freed himself and now advanced toward them with murderous intent, his weapon reforming into a massive executioner's axe. "Nowhere left to run, Death Goddess," he called. "Face me and die with honor." Hela's expression shifted from annoyance to cold calculation. "Very well," she decided abruptly. "The Valkyrie comes. Her Nold GE of Asgard's defenses may prove useful." She fixed Kara with a penetrating stare. "But understand this, Valkyrie, enter my realm voluntarily or not at all. I have no interest in unwilling guests." Kara straightened despite her injuries. Meeting Hela's gaze directly. "If all realms face destruction as he claims," she nodded toward Goku, "then my duty extends beyond Asgard's borders." She gripped her weapon tighter. "I will see this threat with my own eyes before deciding where my allegiance lies." "Decided then," Goku stated as Gore closed the remaining distance. "Let's go." Hela placed her hand against the archway, which began glowing with the now familiar emerald energy of her power. "Through," she commanded. "The passage will collapse behind us." Kara went first, limping but determined. Goku followed, with Hela maintaining position at the threshold. As the archway's energy intensified, preparing to transport them, Gore made a final desperate attack, hurling his living weapon like a spear directly at Hela's heart. With remarkable speed, she conjured a shield that deflected the weapon upward. It embedded in the archway itself, its darkness immediately beginning to corrupt the transportation magic. "Interference," Hela snarled, reinforcing the portal with additional power. "The passage destabilizes." Goku reached back through the growing distortion, catching her arm. "Together," he insisted, pulling her through as the archway began to fracture. The last thing they saw before dimensional energies enveloped them was Gore's face, not enraged as expected, but wearing an expression of grim satisfaction. As if their escape somehow served his purpose. Then reality twisted, the garden vanished, and they plunged into the between space that connected realms, now turbulent and unstable due to the God Butcher's final attack. The journey back proved dramatically different from their careful navigation through Yggdrasil's paths. Instead of orderly transition, they experienced violent dimensional shearing, reality itself seeming to tear around them as Hela fought to maintain their course toward Helheim. Goku used his ki to create a protective bubble around the three of them, while Hela channeled death energy to carve a path through the chaos. Kara, trapped between worlds she'd never experienced, maintained remarkable composure despite the cosmic forces buffeting them from all sides. After what seemed like both an eternity and an instant, they crashed back into physical reality, landing hard on the obsidian floor of Hela's throne room in Helheim. The Cosmic Codex rolled across the floor before coming to rest against the base of her throne, miraculously intact despite their rough arrival. "Well," Hela observed dryly as she rose from where they'd landed in an undignified heap. "That was certainly more dramatic than our departure." Goku helped Kara to her feet, noting the Valkyrie's wide-eyed assessment of their surroundings. "For a warrior raised on story, S of Helheim is a dishonorable afterlife. The reality of Hela's domain must be jarring indeed. Everyone all right? He asked, checking them both for new injuries. Intact, Hela confirmed, moving to retrieve the codex. Though our return path has been thoroughly compromised. Gore's weapon corrupted the passage, it will be unusable for some time. Meaning we're trapped here, Kara summarized, wincing as she tested her wounded leg. In the realm of the dishonorable dead, Hela confirmed with a hint of amusement. How unfortunate for an honorable Valkyrie. Before tensions could escalate, Goku intervened. The important thing is we secured the codex. Now we can figure out how to stop the Void Collective. Hela nodded, examining the artifact with careful attention. Yes, but first, our guest requires healing, and you, champion, need rest. Dimensional travel under duress taxes even the strongest beings. She gestured, and several attendants appeared from side chambers. Prepare chambers for our allies. And summon Scourge. We have much to discuss regarding our encounter with the God Butcher. As the attendants led them from the throne room, Goku noticed Kara's wary observation everything around her. Memorizing layouts, noting defenses, assessing threats like the elite warrior she was. It's not what you expected, is it? He asked quietly. Nothing about this day has been expected. She replied with remarkable understatement. I've gone from defending Asgard to entering its ancient enemy's realm voluntarily. Her piercing gaze met his. You still owe me explanations, stranger. Many of them. Goku, he offered with a slight smile. My name is Goku. Goku, she repeated, testing the unfamiliar name. Well then, Goku, once my wounds are tended, you will tell me exactly what threat warrants theft from Odin's vault, alliance with the goddess of death, and abandonment of my sacred duties. Fair enough, he agreed as they reached a junction where the attendants indicated they would follow separate paths. But I think you'll understand once you hear the whole story. Kara's expression remained professionally skeptical. We shall see. Until later, Goku. As they parted ways, Goku sensed Hela's attention on him from where she remained in the throne room, studying the codex. The day's events had shifted the dynamic between them in subtle but significant ways. Their successful cooperation against Gore, the shared mission, and now Kara's addition to their unlikely alliance, all created new complexities in an already complicated situation. What remained? Constant was the threat looming over both their universes, a threat that had apparently gained the God Butcher as an ally. If Gore specifically targeted gods across pantheons, what did his involvement suggest about the Void Collective's ultimate goals? With On in mind, Goku followed his attendant deeper into Hela's realm, knowing that the battle for universal survival had only just begun. Chapter 2 End. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.